Hello, my dear friends, and a very warm welcome back to our channel, where we learn English through powerful stories. I am so happy you are here today. I want to start with a very personal question for you. Please, think about it. What is the most beautiful thing you can see right now, at this moment? Look around your room. Maybe it is the sunlight coming through your window. Maybe it is the happy color of your wall. Maybe it is a photograph of your family smiling at you. Now, what is the most beautiful thing you can hear? Maybe it is the quiet sound of your computer. Maybe it is music playing softly. Maybe it is your child laughing in another room. These sounds and sights are gifts. We often forget they are gifts. Now, I want you to try to imagine something. It is difficult to imagine. Please try. Imagine if suddenly, in one moment, everything goes completely dark. Not for 1 minute. Not for 1 hour. Forever. No more light. Ever again. And then, imagine if at the same time, everything goes completely silent. No more sound. Forever. You cannot hear music. You cannot hear the voice of someone you love saying, "I love you." Only darkness. And silence. How would you feel? Can you imagine the fear? The loneliness? The confusion? How would you learn about the world? How would you tell people you are hungry? Or sad? Or that you love them? This is not a scary story from a movie. This is a true story. This happened to a real little girl. Her name was Helen Keller. After a terrible sickness, she lived in a world of darkness and silence. She was trapped inside her own body. People around her thought she could not learn. They thought she could not understand. They thought she could not have a future. They were so wrong. So, how did this little girl, alone in the dark, become one of the most famous and important women in history? How did she learn to read and write? How did she learn to speak with her voice? How did she go to a famous university? How did she travel the world and help millions of people? This is not just a story about a disability. No, this is a story about the incredible power of the human mind. This is a story about a teacher's love and patience. This is a story about hope that never dies. It is a story about how language can set you free. And my promise to you is this. By the end of this video, you will not only know the story of Helen Keller, you will feel her strength. You will believe that no problem in your life is too big to solve. You will understand the true meaning of communication. Are you ready for this amazing journey? Let's begin. Our story begins a long, long time ago in the year 1880. In a very beautiful, green part of the United States, in a state called Alabama, in a small town called Tuscumbia, in a big, white house with a beautiful garden, a baby girl was born. Her parents, Captain Arthur Keller and Kate Keller, named their beautiful daughter Helen Adams Keller. Can you say her name? Helen Keller. She was a bright, happy, and very curious baby. Her parents loved her very much. She was very intelligent. She started to talk when she was only 6 months old. Her first words were simple words like wah-wah for water and hello. She could see the beautiful red and yellow flowers in her garden. She could hear the birds singing. She could hear her mother's gentle songs at night. For the first 19 months of her life, everything was perfect. Her world was full of light, sound, and love. But then, tragedy came. When Helen was only 19 months old, she became very, very sick. The doctors in those days called it brain fever or acute congestion of the stomach and brain. It was a very high fever that burned for many days. Her little body was so hot. Her parents were terrified. They sat by her bed day and night. They thought they would lose their little girl. Then, one day, the fever broke. It went away. Her parents cried with happiness. Their daughter was alive. They thought the danger was over. But the sickness had stolen something precious. It had stolen her sight. It had stolen her hearing. The high fever damaged her brain, and it closed the doors to her eyes and ears forever. Can you imagine that moment? Little Helen wakes up, but something is wrong. Everything is black. She cannot see her mother's face. She opens her mouth to cry, but she cannot hear her own voice. The world is silent. She is confused. She is terrified. She is alone in a dark, silent room, but the room is the whole world. Let's pause here for a moment and think like a psychologist. Think about a small child's brain. It is like a supercomputer, but it needs information. How does it get information? Through the five senses: see, hear, smell, taste, touch. But for Helen, the two most important senses were gone: sight and hearing. Her brain was hungry for information, but it was starving. It could not understand the world. How would you feel if you were always hungry but could not find food? You would feel frustrated, angry, scared. And that is exactly what happened to Helen. As she grew from a baby into a small child, she became very wild and angry. She lived in a world of frustration. She had big, terrible tantrums. She screamed and cried, but she could not hear her own screams. She hit people. She kicked. She broke things. She could not say, "I am hungry," or "I am tired," or "I need help," or "I love you." She lived in a prison of silence and darkness. And the worst part? She was the only prisoner in that prison. No one could get in. Her family loved her deeply. Their hearts were broken. They felt so sorry for her. Because they didn't know how to help her, they let her do anything she wanted. They let her take food from other people's plates during dinner. She ran around the house and broke things. They thought this was kindness, but it was actually making her more wild and lonely. Okay, my friend, I have a very important question for you here. Please, put yourself in the shoes of Helen's parents. What would you do? How do you teach a child who cannot see you, who cannot hear your voice? How do you teach her what no means? How do you teach her what love is? It seems completely impossible, right? There is no map for this. There is no book. What is the solution? Think about it for a moment. Her parents heard about a famous eye doctor in a city far away called Baltimore. They traveled a very long and difficult distance to see him. This was in a time with no cars, no airplanes. It was a hard journey. The doctor was a kind man. He examined Helen's eyes. He felt very sad. He said, "I am so sorry. I cannot help her to see or hear again. Her condition is permanent. But I know a man who might be able to help you find a teacher for her. A special teacher." That man was Alexander Graham Bell. Yes, the same man who invented the telephone. But he was also a teacher for deaf children. He cared deeply about helping people communicate. Helen's parents went to see Mr. Bell. He was fascinated by Helen. Even though she was wild and didn't want to sit still, he saw something in her. He saw intelligence in her eyes. He saw a bright mind trapped inside. He told her parents, "This child is intelligent. She can learn. You must find a special teacher for her. There is a school for the blind in Boston. Write to them. They can help." Helen's father wrote a letter to the Perkins Institution for the Blind. He asked for a teacher, and the director of the school had the perfect person in mind. A young woman. A woman who had also known darkness. A woman who would change everything. Her name was Sullivan. And this, my friends, was the beginning of the most beautiful friendship in history. The student and the teacher were about to meet. On March 3rd, 1887, a train arrived in Tuscumbia, Alabama. A 20-year-old woman arrived. Her name was Sullivan. She was not much more than a girl herself. She came from a very, very difficult life and was poor. Her mother died when she was young. Her father was not a good man. She and her little brother were sent to a place called a poorhouse. It was a terrible place for people with no money and no family. She was almost blind from a disease called trachoma. She could barely see. Her world was also full of darkness. But Anne was a fighter. She was very brave and very smart. She begged to go to school. She had operations on her eyes, so she could see a little, but her sight was always very bad. She went to the Perkins Institution for the Blind. She was the top student in her class. And now, her first job was her most difficult job, to teach the wild, uncontrollable Helen Keller. And arrived at Helen's house. The first thing she saw was chaos. Helen was walking around the dinner table, taking food from everyone's plate with her hands. The family did nothing. They just looked sad, and knew immediately what the first lesson had to be. It was not about words. It was about discipline. She had to become Helen's teacher. She had to make Helen understand that there were rules. She told the family, "I need to be alone with Helen. You must not help her. You must not feel sorry for her. You must not interfere. If you want me to help her, you must give me complete control." The family agreed. It was very, very difficult for them to watch, but they agreed, and gave Helen a doll that the children at the Perkins School had made for her. Helen touched the doll. For a moment, she was calm. She liked it. Then, and did something amazing. She took Helen's hand, and she slowly spelled a word into her hand. She used her fingers to make the letters on Helen's palm. DOLL. She tapped the letters into Helen's hand. DOLL. Then she pointed to the doll. What was she doing? She was trying to connect the word with the object. She was trying to give Helen the gift of language. But for Helen, it was just a strange and annoying game. She could copy the finger movements. She could spell DOLL back. But she did not understand that those finger movements meant the thing in her other hand. She did not understand that everything has a name. Days and weeks passed, and kept trying. She spelled CAKE when she gave her a piece of cake. She spelled MILK when she gave her a cup of milk. But Helen was still frustrated. She was still angry. She still had terrible tantrums. She even broke the new doll. She did not understand the secret code. Let's be detectives for a moment. What is the problem here? What is the mystery we need to solve? And is giving Helen words. But Helen's brain does not understand the biggest idea of all, that everything has a name. She doesn't know what a word is. She doesn't know that the finger tapping on her hand is a symbol, a code for the things in the world. How can and make her understand this huge, abstract idea? How do you explain what a name is to someone who has no language? This is the biggest mystery to solve, and is giving her the pieces of the puzzle, but Helen doesn't know it is a puzzle. Then, on a morning that looked like any other morning, April 5th, 1887, something magical happened. A miracle of understanding. They were walking outside. They walked to the water pump, and pumped cool, fresh water over Helen's hand. And while the water was flowing over one hand, she took Helen's other hand and spelled the word into her palm. WATR. She spelled it again. WATR. And again. WATR. And suddenly, Helen Keller understood. You can almost see the light turn on inside her mind. She stopped moving. She stood completely still. The cool, wet feeling was on one hand. The movement of the fingers spelling WATR was on her other hand, and her brilliant brain made the connection. The movement of the fingers was the name of the thing. The word was the thing. The secret code was broken. The prison door was blown open. She dropped to the ground. She touched the earth. She pointed urgently to it. What is its name? And spelled GROUND. Helen touched the pump and spelled PUMP. Helen ran to find her teacher. She touched her and spelled TACHER. It was an explosion of learning, an explosion of joy. That day, she learned 30 new words. Her brain was finally free. It was finally getting the food it was so hungry for. She was not alone anymore. She had the key to communicate with the whole world. The key was language. Can you feel how powerful this moment is? Please, try to feel it. Think about the word water. It is a simple, normal word for us. We say it every day, but for Helen, it was everything. It was the key that unlocked her mind. It was the first word. What is a word that changed your life? Was it hello? Was it friend? Was it love? Was it welcome or peace? For Helen, that first, most important word was WATR. After that day at the water pump, Helen was a learning machine. She wanted to know the name of everything. She touched things all day long and then spelled the words into her hand. Her world, which was once so small and dark, became huge and full of things with names. She learned to read books. She read books in Braille. Braille is a special language with raised dots that blind people touch with their fingers to read. Can you imagine reading with your fingertips? She loved to read. She even learned to write. She used a special board called a Braille slate to write letters. Now she could communicate her own thoughts. It was a miracle. But Helen wanted to do something even more amazing. She wanted to talk with her voice. How can a person who has never heard a sound learn to speak? It is one of the most difficult things you can imagine. You cannot hear your own voice. You don't know what the letters are supposed to sound like. But Helen tried. She put her fingers on Anne's throat to feel the vibrations when she talked. She put her fingers on Anne's lips to feel the shape of the words. Then, she put her fingers on her own throat and tried to make the same vibrations and shapes. It was incredibly frustrating. Her first words did not sound clear. People had difficulty understanding her. Her voice sounded strange and flat because she couldn't hear it. But she never, ever gave up. She practiced for hours and hours every day. And finally, she learned to speak well enough for people to understand her. She found her voice. Her next goal was enormous: university. She wanted to go to Radcliffe College, which was a famous university for women and part of the famous Harvard University. Think about it. A deaf and blind woman in university. How is it possible? And Sullivan was with her every single step of the way and went to all her classes with her. She spelled every single word the professor said into Helen's hand. Helen read her books in Braille, sometimes all night long. The work was so hard. It was the most difficult thing she ever did. But she was brilliant. And in 1904, she did it. She graduated from Radcliffe College with honors. It was a miracle that amazed the whole world. She proved that with hard work and help, anything is possible. But Helen Keller did not stop there. What did she do with her life? She became a hero for other people. She spent her whole life helping others. She traveled to over 40 countries. She gave speeches about hope and courage. She wrote 14 books. Most importantly, she fought for the rights of blind people, deaf people, and poor people all over the world. She asked governments for money to make schools and libraries for the blind. She helped to start an important organization called the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, to protect the rights of all people. She was a superstar of her time. She met every U.S. president and famous people like Charlie Chaplin and Mark Twain. She proved one thing: disability does not mean inability. Your body can have limits, but your mind has no limits. Your mind can fly anywhere. Let's think like a philosopher for a moment. What is Helen Keller's deepest lesson for us? It is not just try hard. It is deeper. It is about connection. The most important moment of her life was not when she learned to talk. It was when she learned that everything has a name. That moment connected her to other people. It connected her to the world. It ended her loneliness. Her life teaches us that we are all connected. We all need a teacher. We all need Anne and Sullivan, someone who is patient, who believes in us, who gives us the key. And maybe we can all be Anne and Sullivan for someone else. Maybe we can help someone else find their key. Maybe we can be someone's light. So, my wonderful friends, what is the true story of Helen Keller? It is the story of a little girl trapped in darkness and silence who found a bright, powerful light inside her own mind. It is the story of a teacher and Sullivan, whose love and patience changed the world. It is a story that teaches us three big, important lessons. First, never, ever give up. Your problems are not bigger than you. Helen's problems were enormous, but her spirit was bigger. Your spirit is big, too. Second, the incredible power of communication. Language is a key that can open any door. Never stop learning new words. Never stop talking to people. Never stop connecting. And third, we all need help. It is okay to need a teacher. It is okay to need a friend. And it is a beautiful thing to be a teacher for someone else. To be someone's and Sullivan. Helen Keller once said of famous words, "The best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or even touched. They must be felt with the heart." You may not have her same difficulties, but maybe you have other problems. Maybe learning English is very difficult for you. Maybe you feel alone sometimes. Maybe you have a dream that seems impossible. Remember Helen Keller. If she could learn to communicate without sight or sound, so can you. If she could go to a famous university, you can achieve your dreams, too. Your mind is powerful. You are powerful. You can do amazing things. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this amazing story with me. I hope you feel inspired and strong. If you like this story, please do me a big favor and press the like button. It helps me more than you know. And if you want to learn more English with beautiful, powerful stories like this one, please subscribe to our channel and press the little bell icon next to it. Then, you will get a notification every time we post a new video. Next week, we will talk about another incredible person from history. A man who could not walk, but he became the leader of a great nation. He led his country through a very difficult time and helped save the world. His name was Franklin D. Roosevelt. His story is also about never giving up. So, until next time, my friends, remember, keep learning, keep hoping, and never, ever give up. Goodbye for now.